Says it's live. All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday to you, and welcome to another episode of the Eventful Life, Living Out Loud. I am your host, Janelle Boyd, and I am the founder of the Eventful Life Enterprises, as well as this TV series, Living Out Loud. I'm also a mompreneur, a educator, a motivator, and what I have most recently decided to call myself is an instigator, because I like to challenge you to think a little bit differently. And I think we can all say that this past year has taught us to think about things a little differently as well. So I thank you so much for always choosing to spend your time in this space with me here as I bring you moms who are entrepreneurs, women in business, who are really just out here living their life, but they are also living it authentically. They're sharing their unspoken truths of challenges, triumphs that they face on a daily basis, while trying to do all the things, right? So I think it's so important that we continue to have these conversations, so that we don't feel like we are alone. Yes, right now in this time of being socially distant, it can sometimes make us feel that we are also physically distant as well. And I think it's important for us to understand that we are not alone in the things that we experience. And so I love bringing these women who are powerhouses, but also just really willing to be honest and authentic about the things that they experience and how they've moved through those things, right? Because we don't stay there, we move through them. So this week, I'm excited, y'all, to bring to you a woman in business who I have had the pleasure of knowing a little bit over a year now. And I have also had the pleasure of just watching how she moves through some of her callings, some of the different ways in which she shows up as a mom, as a business owner, as a community leader, and she does it with such grace, but also authenticity as well. And so I just had to have her on to talk about, your calling, because I think it's one of those things that at some point or another, we all probably have felt challenged in trying to identify what that really means for ourselves. So Lisa, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you, and thank you for saying yes, because you had to say yes too. So I appreciate you so much, and we're gonna dive right in. I'm excited to get this conversation started because one thing for sure, and my audience can attest to it, is that the time moves quick. I don't know how it is, but we sitting here chatting, and all of a sudden you look up and it's like, really? Are we really at the end of our time together? So let's dive in. Let's start by talking a little bit about your calling, right? So I wanna share this quote with you. I listen to right now. I'm into podcasts. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. It's something I can do while I multitask. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I completely understand.
Yes, so I'm listening to a lot of podcasts right now, and they also help me, have helped me through this year get a lot of clarity. And so one of the things about your calling that I wrote down, I jotted this down in my journal, and so I want to start here with this quote. It may be front and center in your life, or it may be disguised as something else. Mm-hmm. Your calling has no interest in being right in any conventional sort of way. Mm-hmm. It's simply your heart speaking its truth.
Yeah,
I thought that was
I love it.
So powerful, so powerful.
I love the piece about not needing to be right. right? That's what gets a lot of people scared. It's like, ooh, this isn't right. Ooh, I shouldn't do it. Ooh, I can't. Ooh, people don't expect me to. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And we do that
Yes.
instead of, listening to what we hear and what God is telling us and what our instincts and our inside is telling us. So
Yes.
I love that quote. Absolutely.
Yes. And you're so right. It's the is this right part that I think trips a lot of us up. And so I want to talk to you about how you discovered, or if you are still discovering, but how you kind of have walked that journey of discovering your calling, because you wear a lot of different hats,
I do.
but I'll be honest, you wear them well. And so I
Bless
feel
you.
like you really do, but I feel like in order for that to happen for you, and I'm assuming that you had to take this journey of kind of surrendering to figuring out what your calling is.
Yeah. I think my calling found me. I didn't find it, right? Kind of like, this is what you need to do. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, here we go. And I've walked through doors that have been opened for me. And with each step to kind of responding to my calling, it
Yeah.
builds more confidence that if I'm called to do something, the doors will open, the resources will come, the timing
Yeah.
will be right, the opportunities will present themselves. And that's exactly what has happened time and
Wow.
time again. And this started when I was probably about 16 years old. So
Wow.
I feel very confident in my calling. Every once in a while, I'll fall off the wagon and say, should I? Could I?
Sure.
Do I?
Sure.
And that's happened actually pretty recently. But when I
Really? Okay.
yeah, when I
So tell me about that. Like what were you experiencing? And I also want to just set up some context for the folks out there. So Lisa, you currently are the owner or you work in the nonprofit HR space, right? And then she also is the owner of Wellsprings Manor,
that's right.
which is and spa, which is a bed and breakfast in the Prince George's County area. And then the sister to that is Wellspring Wishes, which I love, which are curated gift boxes, gift experiences as well. So I just want to set that up so that you, as we are talking about, finding or your calling, finding you,
Mhm.
that the audience kind of understands that this is multifaceted. Like you like it's not just, oh, it found me, or oh, I found it, and so now I'm good to go for like the rest of my life.
No, definitely not. And it keeps finding me, keeps tapping me on my shoulder. And
Yeah. So
um,
talk about the recent experience you said that you kind of just had. Let's dig into that a little bit.
so I'm a horrible sleeper and I suffer from insomnia and have since
Mm.
I don't know, the birth of my first son, and now he's 25. So I can get away with about 5.5 hours of sleep.
Ooh, my
6 hours
word.
of sleep. I'm not sure why, but that's just the way that God set me up. And so,
Right.
but even when that little bit of sleep gets, you know, um, interrupted, then it really starts wreaking havoc. And for the last, I would say it feels like eternity, but probably the last couple of months, I've been waking up very consistently between 4 and 4:30 a.m.
Mm.
And if you're anything like me, that's when your good sleep kicks in, right?
Yes,
And I
you're
wake
like,
up,
just
I'm
turn
like,
it over.
and I've been waking up, and it's like, really, what's happening, Lord? Do we have to talk now? Can we talk later? And what I realized is that in that time, I've gotten some affirmation about some things that I've been contemplating and was hesitant to go forward with, because I'm like, you're
Right.
right. I run a national consulting firm. I
Yeah.
have 65 employees. It's a very full-fledged operation.
Right.
We're trying to survive with Wellspring Manor and Spa through COVID. We've been dark for a long time.
Yeah. Almost a year now.
We created Wellspring Wishes to kind of keep the Wellspring experience alive. And
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
like beautiful things and I find it incredibly soothing to create beauty. And so
Sure.
that's where that came from. But there's yet another thing in my spirit that is like, you know,
And you're
right?
like, okay, God, are you sure it's for me? Like,
Yeah. And that's where the doubt came in, right? Even though I have responded to the calling that has tapped me on the shoulder for the last
yeah,
25+ years, almost 30 years, it still caused me to question. And because it was happening at 4 in the morning, I was like, but what was also happening was I was getting clarity. And what I want to
mm,
impart is the importance when you walk in your calling, and that calling is ordained by God. And
yeah,
I'm gonna just put it where the ghost can get it.
yes,
When
yes,
it's ordained by
ma'am.
God, things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
He will orchestrate it such that you will get the resources, the timing will be right. And it may define logic, it may define what you have done before, it
Yes.
may defy rather what you've done before, it may not align with your educational background. I don't have a background in hospitality. I went to
Ooh,
Howard and I was a business major, and that's what I did. That's been my entire background.
yeah.
So we started Wellspring Manor and Spa with incredible clarity, and it has turned out exactly, minus COVID, what we
Sure, sure, sure.
envisioned, right? And so what I'm saying is God made provision for that calling
Mm-hmm.
filled. He
Yes,
found the property, he put in front of the right people, he connected us to an entire arts community we knew nothing about 5 years ago. And
yes,
now art is a central part of Wellspring. So what I'm saying is when you walk in your calling, that is what you're supposed to do, and things will happen as they should. Doesn't mean
yes.
there aren't problems, but they'll happen as they should.
Yes, that is so good, Lisa. That's so good. And you're right. I mean, I think that we have this push and pull of life where we're trying to figure, and maybe that's some of the doubt is us trying to figure out like, okay, is this God aligned? Is this God ordained? Or is this me just wanting what I want at the time that I want it and saying that this is the time to have it. And I've experienced that myself where I'm always like really cautious about checking myself at the door, like, okay, who's speaking, who's running this ship. But to your point, every single time it's been him, like it's aligned and it's been his call, his calling. It has come together
Mhm.
without me doing anything besides just moving as he directs.
Exactly.
And so I think that's such a good way to help people decipher
Mhm.
when it is your calling. um yeah, because it can very easily get twisted, number one. But then number two, we can very easily talk ourselves
Out of it,
out
especially
of
if
it.
the calling is very different than what you've expected for yourself or others have expected,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, I was a business major. Business is all I know. That's what we did. That's what I did. And
Yeah.
so when this whole vision for Wellspring came about, even though Wellspring is a business, it's in hospitality. I'm a
Right.
management consultant and
Right.
have been for 21 years,
Right.
right? And then before that, I was an HR executive in the association and nonprofit.
Right. Which,
So,
so you're like, that has nothing to do with
right,
nothing.
hospitality, what? But guess what? Clarity, I mean, clarity like none other. And
Mm,
what you see in Wellspring is a manifestation of that calling. And so,
yeah, which is beautiful, by the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's happening again. And so I just have to, go with the calling. And I encourage you to do the same if you're listening and you're not
Yeah.
sure. Don't box God in. Don't
Yeah.
color inside the line.
Mm, don't
Life can
box God
happen.
in. I love it.
Yeah,
I
life
love
can
it.
happen in the gray. It can happen.
Yes. Yes. And so that kind of segues us into kind of my next question for you, which is, you know, like I said earlier, I'm a believer in you don't just have one calling. Like we and you said it so beautifully just a minute ago, like don't box God in. Like you don't know where he's taking you next. You don't know what he might want you to step into next. And it does not mean that you weren't purpose for what you were doing. It just might mean that it is time for you to step into this
Yeah.
next purpose that he has for
A
you.
yes and not an either or.
Oh, so
right?
good. Say that again. A yes
Yes,
and,
yes, and
not an either or. Come on, somebody. That was so good. That was so good. Let's talk about that though. When you are experiencing that, let's say, and, right?
Mhm.
How do you embrace that? And I call it a season or a reason, right? So
Mhm.
I'm like, we have, even in our calling, we have seasons,
Yeah.
but it might be the next reason that's moving us into our next calling. Like there's a reason he's opening this door. There's a reason he's aligning these people or these things around you. There's a reason he's giving you this clarity right here and right now in this moment. So how do you embrace that, that your calling is for a season as well as a reason? So
Mhm.
so it's okay to have multiple callings
Mhm.
and embrace that that
Mhm.
is the thing.
That's the thing. I think so many times we limit our possibilities by tradition or rules or expectations of others.
Yeah.
And to me, one of the most empowering things to do is to um, take on a fearless mentality,
Mhm.
right? Because it's fear that will
Yeah.
cause us to doubt and question.
Yeah.
And sometimes for very good reasons, we're fearful.
Yeah.
But we if you're going to walk in your calling, you're going to have to be fearless because it's not always going to be laid out for you in
I
a
know
nice
that's
little
right.
box and laid out so you can know every step of the way.
That's
You
right.
have to have faith and you have to embrace a measure of willingness to walk into the unknown. For
Yes.
sure.
Oh, the well, you just said it again. The unknown. You
Yeah,
have to, because
yeah.
don't we want to know everything? Like, okay, so
And
how's it gonna
I'm that person.
happen?
I want to know.
Okay,
Yeah,
how's it
but
gonna happen? When? Where? Who's gonna be there, God?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And so it's that unknown, but yet that trust,
Mhm.
right? Like just trusting that you may not know all the answers and you may not know all the pieces, but you're being led by somebody who does.
That's right. And we
Yeah.
have to do our homework too, right? So
Yeah.
faith without works is dead. We it requires us to do our homework. And so
Absolutely.
when the vision for Wellspring came about, I, I wrote a business plan
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
presented that business plan to my husband, who's an astute business person.
I
Very
love it.
good
That's
number.
balance.
Yes, yes. And I wrote that business plan like I was going to Bank of America's board of directors, right? I put so we have to do our homework. We can't just
Yes.
say, oh, we have faith and we're going to step out and we haven't handled what we need to handle. And so it was very helpful to kind of streamline the thought process and the messaging
Mm-hmm.
for Wellspring by going through that exercise.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so I
That's
think it
good.
is important that we handle our business
Yeah.
even when we have a calling so that we can
Yeah.
do it well. My
Yeah.
mother has a saying, and all the kids in the family know it, the grandkids know it. If a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be a
Mm.
labor, great or small, do it well or not at all.
Oh,
We learned that when I was behind to a grasshopper. But
that's good. Come on, mama.
yeah, she was in it. But the thing that is most important about that is do it well or not at all,
Or not at
right?
all.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we're a little raggedy with how we handle our business, and it makes
Right.
the calling stressful because we've been called, but then we have to do the work
The preparation.
to
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
preparation. And
That's
so
right.
to
That's
me, that's
right.
really important is to do things well,
Yeah.
and I don't do anything I can't do well.
Oh, come on now.
No,
That's
man.
right. That's right. And connecting it back to the faith,
Yeah,
he wouldn't call you to do it
yeah,
if he did not require that you did it well
yeah,
either. Like
yeah.
that's not how he operates. He's like, don't
Absolutely.
don't have me
Especially
out here. And going back to mamas, it reminds me of my mom when we would go somewhere. She's like, don't have me out here
right. That was
looking a
shaking.
mess.
Yeah,
And I feel
absolutely.
like he has the same conversation with us sometimes, like, okay, now you know that is not how I operate.
Right. That's right.
That's so good. That's so good. So with each time that you felt this tap on your shoulder, has it always been the same process in walking it out, or has it varied depending on the calling?
No, it's been very consistent.
Mm,
That's how I know when I've been called to do something, because it becomes like abundantly clear what I should.
mm,
The details come to me like I'm watching a movie. It
yeah,
so it and it so I know when it's happening. It's kind of like if you're getting a cold, you get a sore throat first,
yeah.
then you
So
might
you know
feel
the symptoms.
right, something's coming, right? And
Yeah.
so the same thing with me when God has called me to do something, it follows a pattern.
Oh, that's
I get a
good.
vision for it. It's very clear. I get the
Mhm.
detail and I can't kind of stop until it comes out.
Right.
And then there's a plan of execution. I wrote a book called Strong on the Outside, Dying on the Inside.
Yeah. Which I
And that was
love. It's
years
an
ago.
amazing book.
Thank you. And but that book, same pattern, right? So nonprofit HR, my management consulting firm,
Right.
Strong on the Outside, Wellspring Manor, Wellspring Wishes, and this other baby that's coming to happen. All the same pattern, same pattern.
Wow. Right.
Clarity, detail, got to get it out.
Right.
Lots of specificity.
Mm,
No kind of uncertainty. It's
right.
laid out before me. Same pattern.
So it's almost like um we need to be mindful about how the calling comes, because you'll then be able to identify certain patterns, right, when they do come to us. Like I hear people asking the question, well, how do I know, how do I decipher, what do I look for? But from what you're saying, it sounds like if we are mindful about how it comes,
Yeah,
and I think you alluded to this earlier, each and every time you'll kind of get better at it.
that's
You'll
right.
kind
The
of
second
be able to,
time.
yeah,
If you're a mother, those of you who are mothers, when
yeah,
you were pregnant and you went into contractions, you knew because those Braxton Hicks came and everything got real tight,
right,
right? And you knew
right,
I'm about to have a contraction.
yeah.
Same thing, right? I
That's
feel the
so
things
good.
happening in my mind. I'm waking up, I'm getting these clear visions for what's to be done, and it happens over and over again. Now that
Yeah,
said, I do recognize that it doesn't flow like this for everybody. This is just
sure,
my
absolutely.
personal way.
But to your point, no birth is the same, right?
That's That's right. Right. Some labor is 12 hours. Some,
Right.
yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, those people who labor like 2 hours, those people who labor 12 hours probably wish they could labor 2 hours like those other folks. But
Right.
that there lies the uniqueness in each individual's calling
Right.
and what's so
Exactly.
unique to the person.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so good. So good. So tell me, once you kind of have identified, and you feel like, okay, like you said, you're moving through it, and you're like, okay, I know this is something that I have to get out. When the next kind of calling comes to you, do you feel do you feel the need to completely abandon what you've already kind of purposed? Or like you said, and you kind of said this before, it's like but
Right.
how do you manage all of those callings, right? Like, so it's like, okay, God, I know you want me to do this, but did you forget that I also got this and this and this?
Yep. I had that conversation. That's been the 4 a.m. conversation. It's like, really? But you know what? And some things, like you said, for a season and a reason,
Yeah.
some things will die a natural death. And
Mm,
you turn something off in order to turn something on. In
right.
other cases, you can do more than you think, right? And as Black women, we know that we
Ooh,
could
yes.
do our hair and fix macaroni and cheese and get the kids straight all at the same time.
Ooh, that's so the truth.
So if we can do that in our personal life, we can also do it for our callings. It's just a commitment
Yeah.
to walk in your purpose. And here's the thing, like I said, when you do it, it really becomes intoxicating.
Mm,
I cannot imagine living my life now in any other way.
that's so good. Yeah.
And so, you can't convince me to go work for somebody, because I've kind of been able to do my thing.
Yeah, you like, no, I've been there, done that. We're beyond that now.
That's right. That's right. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's so it's so congruent to just growing up, right? Like, I know sometimes people talk about, oh, I wish I could go back to those years, but I'll be honest, I've never had a point, not yet, where I can say I wish I could go back, because I really appreciate every stage of life that I've been in so far,
me, me
and
too.
each one of have has added value to who I am now, and I'm excited about who I am becoming as well. So
Absolutely.
I feel like it almost is very similar to that
That's
walk.
the gift of maturity.
Mm,
Absolutely.
that's so
Yeah,
good.
we get more confident, and hopefully, and more clear about what we want and what we don't want, what we're willing to tolerate, what we're not,
Yes.
how we want to spend our time, who we want to
Yeah.
spend it with, you know.
So good. And COVID came right on in and just said, hey, listen, if you didn't have it before now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you get it.
But you know what? COVID has been a blessing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it has quieted some people's spirits.
Ooh,
Not running the streets no more.
yes.
They can keep their
Ooh,
tail home and conversate, as we say, with God, you know.
that's right.
And so it's been a blessing for some to slow down. For
Hmm.
me, quieting is my spirit is how I hear from
Yeah.
God, right? I now it's happening for anybody, but before I would take myself on an annual retreat every year, a
Right.
solo trip, and I would sit, either sit on the beach or spend time in a spa, quietly in my hotel room, sitting at the poolside, just
Hmm.
in silence.
Right.
No music, no TV,
Yeah.
and then stuff just starts, you
Flowing.
know?
Right.
Yeah,
And isn't that interesting how when we get still
yeah,
is when we flow.
yeah.
Like, I am marveled at that. And maybe because it's just been this huge revelation recently for me, but it is in the stillness that
Yeah,
I get the overflow.
that's right. And
And
you said it exactly right. The overflow and the clarity in the quietness is just, and a lot of times folks are afraid to get quiet with
yeah.
themselves, right? Because they may not like what they hear. And I understand,
Mm,
if you live with trauma, that silence may be traumatic.
unsettling, yeah.
And, I would say just keep talking to God about that, because
Yeah.
silence is not everyone's friend. I recognize that. I happen to
Yeah.
be an introvert, and so silence is a very close friend of mine. I love
Yeah.
I love it. We
I
get
was
along
gonna say, all
well.
my introverted friends are living their best life right now. Like, they are just like COVID who. Like, they're just
So true. So true.
right. Where
Yeah.
us I'm both, so when I have my extroverted moments, I'm just like, where are my
Yeah.
people?
That's my husband. He's dying. He is dying from not being able to hang out. Yeah.
Right. Right. You're like, I'm good. So here's another quote I want to share with you, as we start to kind of close our conversation out. It seems, and I know it, again, I'm all about the quotes right now because I love inspirational words and words of affirmation. But the degree to which we listen to and act on our callings determines how fulfilled we are with our lives. And we touched on this, a little bit a moment ago. What advice do you have for, some of our mompreneurs out there, or women in business who are listening, who are really struggling with understanding how to, or maybe not even understanding, but giving themselves permission
Mm,
to tap into that
mm,
and really allow themselves to be fulfilled in their calling, by letting their calling find them, like you said earlier, like letting it find you, because I think as women, we have this uniqueness in that we also have these other added things like the guilt of, well, is that really being responsible? Well, what about, my family and my kids and things like that? Or, well, am I too old to be doing that? Like all these things. And I wonder sometimes if men experience this the same way.
I'm kind of curious myself.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a conversation I'm still trying to reel my husband into slowly. But
Uh,
but what do you say to women out there who are struggling with that?
yeah, I think you have to first give yourself permission to enjoy the life that you've been given, right?
I love that word. Yeah.
We don't oftentimes give ourselves permission to live our best life. We look at other people living their best lives and we think that that's what happens for other people, but we don't tell ourselves, one, I'm deserving. Two, I've got one trip through this earth and it needs to be memorable.
Yes.
I need to build legacy for my own fulfillment, but also for the fulfillment of those I leave behind when I do leave.
Yeah.
And so I think giving yourself permission to do and to be is the first step
Yeah.
to letting yourself walk in your calling. And I don't ask permission for much, anymore.
I love that. She said, I don't ask permission for much.
No, I don't, because I realize that in giving myself permission to be, I show up as my best person. You get the best Lisa when you get free Lisa. If you try to box me in and make me color in the line, I'm going down with a fight.
Yeah.
So it behooves all of us, including me, to let me be me and to be free to walk in my calling. When I feel caged in, when I feel like I'm not giving myself permission to be my best self, you don't get my best self.
That's
and so I would say start with giving yourself permission and then be focused on what you want to do. Put time to it. Just like you put time to shopping and getting that right makeup and getting your hair done and whatever it is you put time to. If you're going to do something well, you have to put time to it. You have to do your homework. You have to know who's in your space, who's doing it well. Look at their model, look at their business plans, look at their, I'm saying, follow that.
Yeah.
Because there's a pattern to success. And most of it comes from time and effort. You cannot be successful without time and without effort.
That's right. That's right.
Give yourself
and it sounds so simple, but it really is.
You know what? Those are the two things: time, effort, and one would say, of course, resources, right?
Right.
Because you can put time and effort, but if you don't have any resources, then it becomes even more challenging. I don't want to diminish that.
Right.
We could do a lot of things as Black women creatively, but one of the challenges we face is not having access to resources.
Access, sure.
And so that limits sometimes what we can do. Although we will make $1 out of 15 cents.
I was gonna say, but we will make something look like we had $1 million to do it, and that is what I love. It's twofold. It's what I love, but it can also be the curse.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so good. That is so good. Thank you for sharing those words of advice, because I do believe that will help someone, help someone out there who might be struggling in that specific area. Okay, so before we close things out, I got 5 questions. These are my rapid fire, and I don't ever share them before. But I always have to make my disclaimer. I'm not responsible for anything that comes out. Okay. Number 1, what do you like to do for fun?
I love visiting spas.
Nice. Hence Wellspring Manor and Spa, right?
Right now.
I can't wait to get over there. I'm like, come on. Number 2, what's one stereotype about moms or women that drives you bananas?
That we can do everything. No matter what you throw at us, we can do everything and we don't hurt. Especially Black moms. Mama can do it. Sometimes mama needs a break. So
yeah,
I would say the stereotype that we can do it all.
That's good. That's good. Who is your BFF in your head?
In my head. Oh, like a celebrity?
Yeah, or just somebody you're like, I haven't physically met them, but I feel like that's my girl.
Wow. Wow, that's a good question. Uh,
I got her
I
stumped, y'all.
like Viola Davis.
Ooh, that is good.
Got this cool vibe to her that I just really like. Like I could hang out with her. We could be
Yeah,
in the, hang out.
I agree. No, I love that. That was a good one. That was a good one. 'Cause she is. I feel like she can do no wrong. I love her.
Yeah.
What do you dream of becoming?
Mm. I'm living my dreams.
Oh,
I'm really living my dreams.
that was powerful, Lisa.
I don't have an answer to that one because I
Yeah.
I'm I determined to live life full and free, and so I'm doing it. I'm very committed to that.
Yes.
So I'm not sure I have an aspirational dream because I'm walking in it right
Yeah, but that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Listen, I'm on that track with you, girl. I ain't there yet, but I'm getting
now.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on.
Coming over to your side, okay? Okay, favorite song and why?
Anything by Roberta Flack, but the first time ever I saw your face was one of
Oh,
my favorite songs by her. Her voice is perfect.
yeah.
Perfect pitch, perfect tone, perfect everything. So Roberta Flack is by far my favorite vocalist.
So good. I love me some Roberta Flack.
Yes,
Ooh.
me
I'm
too.
like, I used to grow up listening to like old songs like
Yes.
Billie Holiday and
Mhm.
and my mom would be like, "Who are you? Have you been here before? Like what?"
Also, I love it. Yeah, she's
I
my
love it. Well, thank you so much. This has been so enjoyable. And I told you the time was gonna go
it
fast.
did
I
go
can't even
quickly.
it always does, but I love this. This is therapy to my soul. Okay, I'm gonna just let the cat out the bag. I love coming and talking to y'all every week. It is just it's amazing dialogue, but needed, but very much needed. And so share with everyone, Lisa, where they can find you, how they can keep in touch with you, all of that good stuff.
Sure thing, sure thing. So I am on LinkedIn, like all good professionals are. So Lisa Brown Alexander on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook through Wellspring Manor and Spa and Wellspring Wishes. And we're also on Instagram. Got a Twitter presence, but I'll be honest, we're not super active on Twitter.
Yeah.
But Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn is where I can be found, Lisa Brown Alexander.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And I just have to give, I know that you said you guys aren't operating right now, but I really want to give a shout out to Wellspring Manor and Spa because, that right there has already started to create some history in and of itself. First, am I correct in saying first bed and breakfast in Prince George County, Maryland?
That's right. That's exactly.
That's huge,
And the
Lisa.
only
That's huge.
first and black owned too. So
First Black owned. Yes,
black
yes.
owned. So yeah. Thank
So
you.
yeah, so y'all listen, as soon as we can be out doing all the things,
Yes. We'll
head
be
right
back.
over there.
We'll
Yes,
be
head right
back.
over
Just pray
there.
for us that we can endure this COVID situation. It's difficult as we had just started in
Yeah.
before 2018, and so
Yeah. When did you guys officially open?
in
I
the
feel
fall
like
of 2018.
okay, okay. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. I know it wasn't that, that soon after that COVID happened, but I mean, just the glimpse we got, before COVID, I know it is a gym. It is, a place that everyone should want to get to at some point. We all need, and again, we are understanding of the fact that we all need to take time to get still, and that's the perfect place to do it.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you again, friends, for spending your time with us. Please make sure you go back, re-listen to this. Lisa shared so many gems. I know I'll be listening again. I like to go back and re-listen to these conversations. And I hope that this was valuable for you. Again, thank you for sharing your time and space with us this week. We'll be back again next week, next Thursday, same time, same place. And remember, remember, you can have it all, but as long as you're willing to have it on your times and your term. Thanks, ladies. See you again real soon. Take care.